Welcome to This Explainer. Look, as quality professionals, you and I both know what our ultimate goal is, right? We're trying to transform operational chaos into structured, sustainable excellence. And the way we actually pull that off isn't through guesswork, it's through proven, data-driven techniques. So today, we are taking a practitioner's journey straight into the heart of quality management to explore an arsenal of tools that have, quite literally, reshaped modern industry. So, let's kick things off with a pretty fascinating question. What if I told you that you could solve 95% of your workplace quality problems with just 7 basic visual tools? Sounds like a stretch, right? Well, this isn't some hypothetical scenario. This was the famous thesis of Dr. Karu Ishikawa, an absolute pioneer in total quality management. He firmly believed that the persistent, skillful application of just a few fundamental exercises could conquer almost all shop floor quality issues. It's a massive claim, but as we're going to see, the data completely backs it up. Here is the roadmap for our explainer today. We'll start with the foundation of quality, then dive into the core 7 QC tools and the new 7 planning tools. After that, we'll map everything to frameworks like Six Sigma, QC Story, and 8D. And finally, wrap up with organization preparation and future integration.
All right, Section 1 Foundation of Quality. To really master these methods, we first need to understand where they came from.
The genesis of this whole toolkit actually traces back to the post-World War II industrial resurgence in Japan. Back in the 1950s, American quality pioneers like W. Edwards Deming and Joseph M. Juran introduced these really complex statistical theories to Japanese engineers. But Dr. Ishikawa realized there was a massive barrier. These stats were just way too dense for the frontline workers who were actually building the products. So, in 1968, he published Gemba no QC Shuho, effectively democratizing the methods. He simplified all that complex math into visual formats that absolutely anyone on the shop floor could use.
Now, I absolutely love the cultural inspiration behind the name here. The designation 7 tools draws from the Benkai no Nanadogu, which were the 7 legendary weapons carried by a 12th century Japanese warrior priest. It perfectly illustrates how we should be viewing these techniques. They aren't just boring graphs and charts. They are a literal arsenal, giving frontline workers the power to autonomously hunt down and eliminate defects.
Section 2, the core 7 QC tools. This is our classic quantitative toolkit. As quality management experts, our core mindset is super simple. We don't guess, we rely on data.
First step in the arsenal is the check sheet. Think about a real-world clerical example for a second. The core objective is beautifully simple. Systematically standardize your data collection. Instead of just vaguely complaining, hey, we have a lot of typos, a team uses tally marks to track exact defect types during a specific period. Missing letters, reverse letters, extra letters, wrong letters. It's a completely systematic way to collect quantitative variables, and it gives us an immediate, clear picture of defect patterns before we even begin our deep dive.
Now that we've got our data, we bring in the Pareto chart. The objective here is prioritization based on the classic 80-20 rule, separating the vital few from the trivial many. The bar chart isolates which defects are causing the vast majority of the problems. There's actually an incredible real-world application in the sources where an automotive company used this exact tool on their assembly line. By isolating the really critical issues, they slashed their vehicle inspection trimline defects by an astounding 80%. They dropped them from 157 all the way down to just 28. That is the power of targeted, data-driven improvement.
Okay, so after identifying what the biggest problem is, we need to figure out why it's happening. Enter the cause and effect, or fishbone diagram. The whole point of the Ishikawa diagram is to exhaustively map out root causes before anyone jumps to conclusions. Let's say you have a problem like edge flaws. We don't just point fingers, right? We branch out into specific categories: methods, machines, materials, and operators. Is the pre-cure period wrong? Is there base variation in the color material? Maybe it's a training issue. This tool prevents that dangerous tunnel vision and ensures we explore every single possible root cause. Next, let's talk about analyzing data distribution and process stability. To get a feel for data distribution, we use a histogram to see the actual shape of our process variation. But here's the catch. A histogram doesn't account for time. That's exactly why we pair it with the Shewhart control chart. The objective here is ongoing stability monitoring. By plotting performance between upper and lower control limits, we instantly spot any out-of-control special cause variations. That means we can intervene before defective products are actually made.
We conclude the core toolset with the scatter diagram and flowcharts. A flowchart is obviously essential for mapping the step-by-step reality of your process.
But once the process is mapped, the scatter diagram comes in to prove relationships between two variables. Imagine charting a dynamic like machine speed directly against defect rates. The goal is to visually confirm whether a real correlation exists. This ensures that the solutions we implement are based on validated relationships, not just gut feelings. Moving right along to Section 3, the new planning tools. Because let's face it, quality challenges have evolved. Sometimes the problems you face aren't just about measuring defects on an assembly line. They involve complex strategy and planning.
This contrast is absolutely crucial. The original 7 tools are retrospective and quantitative. They rely on hard measurements like frequencies and trends to control and improve a process that already exists. But the new 7 QC tools, which were developed in 1976, are proactive and qualitative. They deal with concepts, opinions, and logic during the planning and development phase. They basically act as a bridge between your organization's high-level strategic vision and the technical data analyzed on the shop floor.
These proactive tools include the affinity diagram, relations diagram, tree diagram, matrix diagram, prioritization matrix, process decision program chart, and the activity network diagram. Now, don't worry about memorizing all of these right this second. What you really need to take away is why they matter. For example, an affinity diagram groups massive amounts of brainstorming data, while a tree diagram breaks broad, intimidating goals into manageable, actionable tasks. They help cross-functional teams make sense of scattered ideas, expose hidden dependencies, and anticipate risks before a project even kicks off. It's all about aligning the team, so the original 7 QC tools have a solid foundation to work from.
Section 4. Mapping to Six Sigma. We have our tools, but they don't operate in a vacuum. Let's see how they map to enterprise-wide frameworks like Six Sigma, QC Story, and the 8D methodology. We all know Six Sigma targets a staggering 3.4 defects per million opportunities, and it runs on the DMAX cycle: define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. Similarly, in Japanese manufacturing, you have the QC Story format structuring problem-solving into theme selection, cause analysis, and standardization. And over in the automotive world, the 8D, or 8 Disciplines framework, focuses heavily on team-oriented problem containment and root cause identification. Every single one of these relies entirely on intelligent data validation at every step.
And this is exactly where our 7 QC tools become the engine. In Six Sigma's measure phase, or the 8D's problem description phase, we deploy our check sheets and Pareto charts. During the analyze phase, or the root cause step of a QC story, we rely heavily on fishbone diagrams and scatter plots. Finally, in the control phase, control charts ensure our improvements stay standardized over the long haul. These simple tools are the literal technical foundation making these massive corporate methodologies possible.
Let's wrap things up with Section 5, Organization Preparation. What is the real business value of standardizing these capabilities across your workforce, and how do they fit into the future of manufacturing?
Let's talk about the bottom line, because the impact is profoundly financial. By empowering your frontline workers to use check sheets, Pareto prioritization, and control charts, you are effectively building an army of autonomous problem solvers. The sources highlight that a structured application of these tools has enabled organizations to solve hundreds of chronic quality problems, ultimately slashing the cost of poor quality by up to 80%. And look, as we move into Industry 4.0, these tools aren't going anywhere. They're just evolving. Digital check sheets are becoming automated IoT sensors, and control charts are being powered by real-time AI analytics. This foundational knowledge is literally more critical now than ever before. Which brings us to our final, provocative thought. The methods are proven. The frameworks exist. The real barrier is simply your internal implementation and culture. So, is your organization prepared to stop guessing and start solving with data? Are you ready to equip your teams with the legendary weapons they need to conquer process variation? I really hope this explainer has inspired you to look at these basic tools not just as charts, but as the ultimate catalyst for operational excellence. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey.